This is Optimal Health Daily, episode 377. What's your limit break? And a guest post. Most people are dead at 35. Both from rajlawfitness.com. And I'm your host and narrator, Dr. Neil. Hey, happy Tuesday and a happy Boxing Day to those that celebrate. Welcome back to Optimal Health Daily, where I read some of the best health and fitness blogs to you, usually with a little bit of commentary at the end. And we're lucky to have a sponsor for this episode. It helps keep the podcast running. And that sponsor is Talkspace, the online therapy company that lets you choose from over 1,500 licensed therapists. Get matched with your perfect therapist who can put you on the path to a happier life. For a special offer just for you, visit Talkspace.com/OHD. So again, I hope you had a wonderful holiday. For those of you that celebrate Christmas, you're probably thinking now about the New Year's and maybe thinking about some goal setting, or maybe not yet. It's a little too early. Either way, today's two posts will kind of get you back on track in case maybe the last couple of holidays didn't go quite as planned. So again, both posts that I'm about to read to you are from Raj Law Fitness, but one is a guest post on his site. I'm sure you're excited to hear them, so let's get to both as we optimize your life. What's Your Limit Break? By Roger Lawson of rajlawfitness.com. Quote, "We do not rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training." Archilochus. You're riding the fastest, safest train ever built, and your ride is going smoothly. All of a sudden, you go from reading the latest Dan Brown novel to being tossed around the cabin like nobody's business. What happened? Well, unbeknownst to you, the rail that you were riding was experiencing a technical engineering gap between conception and implementation. Basically, someone forgot to finish constructing it. In this situation, it didn't matter how awesome the train that you were riding was. It could have been powered by baby farts and unicorn magic for all I care, because you would have run into the same problem. Lack of rail equals the train stops moving forward, under its own power at least. This is your limit. Regardless of where you are in life, there is always something holding you back from moving forward, and until you can identify and correct it, progress will come to a screeching halt. I had a conversation with someone recently who had no problem sticking to a diet during the week, but once the weekend hit, all bets were off, and the progress that they had worked so hard to make over the last several days was completely wiped out. What was my advice to him? Assemble all the resources that he could possibly muster to make it from Friday evening to Monday morning. If he can simply come up with strategies enabling himself to power through the wicked weekend, that bottleneck that he needs to pass through if he wants to make any real progress towards his goals, then it's smooth sailing from that point on. This is his limit break, and it applies to everything. One of my favorite video games of all time, Final Fantasy VII, highlights this term perfectly. After taking enough damage, at a point where defeat seems inevitable, the character is able to perform a powerful attack of desperation, which turns the tide of battle in his favor. The best part is that we too can harness the power of limit breaks in our everyday life. The first step is to identify the point or points that always seem to trip us up. Then, do whatever it takes to keep our feet firmly planted into the ground in order to pass those points. Need knowledge? Acquire it. Need motivation? Find it. Need help? Seek it. What are your current limits, and how do you plan to break through them? Guest post. Most people are dead at 35. From rajlawfitness.com. Today's guest post comes from the godfather of the strength and conditioning field, Michael Boyle. Having seen him speak at seminars, I enjoy his ability to take complex subject matter and break it down in such a way that everyone can take something away from it. If nothing else, he also encourages you to think about a topic in a different light. This post I'm about to read falls into that latter category. Most people are dead at 35, by Michael Boyle. A few years ago, I listened to a Paul Chek nutrition CD, and Chek used the following quote from a nutritionist. Quote, "Most people are dead at 35. They just walk around for another 30 to 40 more years." End quote. This was intended to apply to most adults from a nutritional standpoint. I find the point both amusing and accurate from a physical standpoint as well. By 35, most of the damage is done, and without an intensive program of exercise, the damage is difficult to reverse. The truth is that quality of life begins to deteriorate after 30 for many people due to lack of exercise. Activities that were once simple and normal become increasingly difficult. The sad part is that the deterioration doesn't become readily apparent until one's 50s or 60s, and at this point, it gets much harder to change. The baby boomers are fueling the personal training business in an attempt to improve not only the length of their life, but the quality. However, the time to fight back is right now. Don't wait until you are 50 and try to undo 20 years of damage. One of my favorite quotes is, "The best time to plant a tree was 3 years ago. The next best time is today." Don't wait another day to begin an exercise program. Start today. The truth is that obesity, neck pain, back pain, and so many of the debilitating conditions that we suffer from in adulthood are entirely preventable, but the earlier we start, the better. Don't make excuses. You only need about 30 minutes 3 days a week. Try to get 5 minutes of warm-up, 10 minutes of total body strength training, and 15 minutes of cardiovascular work. The bottom line, don't walk around in a dying body. We would never treat our cars the way we treat our bodies. Imagine never changing the oil, using the cheapest possible gas, and driving until the tires are bald. Unfortunately, this is the way we treat our bodies. The only problem is that we can't buy a new body after we ruin the old one. The damage may be irreversible. If the damage is reversible, we need to reverse it with exercise instead of with pharmaceuticals. Exercise is the most powerful wellness drug on the planet. It's just difficult to take. Try taking a good dose of exercise 3 times a week, and you might be able to throw away the Lipitor and the blood pressure medicine and all the other junk. You just listened to the posts titled, "What's Your Limit Break?" and guest post, "Most People Are Dead at 35, both from RajLawFitness.com. A very big thanks again to Talkspace for sponsoring this episode. A therapist can help you with your limits, and Talkspace, the online therapy company, makes it easy to connect with an experienced, licensed therapist that you pick based on your preferences, and for a lot less than traditional therapy. What's really cool is that you can send your therapist text, audio, and video messages, or even do a live video chat. Talkspace therapists are fully licensed and go through a rigorous screening process. Plus, they've done thousands of hours of supervised professional training. To get matched with your perfect therapist, go to Talkspace.com/OHD. And as a special offer for our listeners, you can use the coupon code OHD to get $30 off your first month, all while showing support for this podcast. That's the code OHD, and you can use that at Talkspace.com/OHD. It's true that once we hit the age of 30 or so, our muscles begin to deteriorate rapidly. This happens to all of us. It's sadly a natural process. And unfortunately, this can start a chain reaction, where if your muscles become smaller and therefore weaker, you may end up with issues moving. If you have issues with your mobility or moving around, that's going to weaken your bones, because if you're not moving around as much, your bones will then become weak and brittle. Now, part of this equation, of course, we have to factor in hormones. For example, when women reach menopause, which is basically when they stop menstruating, their hormones shift dramatically, and this shift in hormones leads to an increase in bone breakdown. So that's why ladies from menopause and later are at an increased risk for something called osteoporosis, or what that literally translates to is holes forming in their skeletal structure. Guys are also at risk for osteoporosis, but not as much as women. So that's a lot of bad news. Let's turn that around. So if we can keep our muscles strong as we age, that will help improve mobility. We're going to be less likely to have, hopefully, back pain, neck pain, and maybe at a lower risk for osteoporosis. So this is why all of these things are always connected. If we can do some resistance training, which creates the demand to keep those muscles nice and healthy, then we can all of a sudden improve our health essentially from head to toe. But I like that the guest author, Michael Boyle, mentioned that you don't just want to focus on resistance training alone, just be sure to incorporate it, but also do things like cardiovascular activity, because that's going to use big muscles, the ones in your legs, and keep your heart healthy. And I also like that he said you don't need to do 30 minutes every single day. You can break it up, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And even if you can do that 3 times a week, that's something, and your body will reap the benefits. All right, that'll do it for today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you back here on tomorrow's show, where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this show and Optimal Living Daily, the brother podcast of this one. Literally, I'm Dr. Neil's brother. If you like the format of this show, you'll love Optimal Living Daily too, where I also read to you from blogs, but cover other topics like personal development, finance, and minimalism from bloggers like Derek Sivers, The Minimalists, Zen Habits, and many more. So for more amazing content read to you for free, come subscribe to Optimal Living Daily too, and together we'll optimize your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Health Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com. That's oldpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.